All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to call this meeting into order, and we're going to begin with our Executive Director, Ms. Baker, for the public disclaimer and roll call.
Thank you. Good morning. Notice of the May meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, including date and time, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website since September 15, 2023. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. Individuals who wish to make a public comment on an item listed on the posted agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in on the provided sign-in sheet or by placing their name in the chat box online. It is requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes out of respect for other speakers. I shall now call the roll. Chair Diaz,
Present.
Vice Chair Ferris, Commissioner Moffitt,
Here.
Commissioner Begley, Commissioner Torbett,
Here.
Commissioner Gwynn, Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Tucker,
Here.
Commissioner Gahn.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Excellent. Just a caution to commissioners and staff, these microphones are always live. There is no mute button, so guard yourself.
May I make one more announcement?
Sure.
For those in the room joining us to receive CE credit through the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, please make sure you sign in up front, and you must sign out in order to receive 8 hours of continuing education by attending the Tennessee Real Estate Commission meeting today. Thank you.
Very good. Next, we're going to move on to the prayer and pledge. Commissioner Smith is going to lead us in the pledge, and Commissioner Torbett will lead us in the prayer. Commissioner Smith.
Start with
Okay, go ahead. You pray.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I thank you for safe travels for those of us who have traveled and good health for those of us here today, and protect us as we travel back home. Give us wisdom and discernment in the decisions we make, and bless our efforts and help us to honor you with our words and actions. Lead, guide, and direct us in all we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you to you both. Next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Sir, if the commission would entertain, I do have a slight adjustment to the agenda. If we could move our legislative update as well as the rulemaking approval, if we could move that directly behind the executive director's report, I would greatly appreciate it.
Are there any further amendments or discussion? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next is the approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Are there any amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Gahn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain on here.
That motion passes on a 5-0 with one abstention. Commissioner Torbett abstains. All right. Ms. Baker, we're on to our informal appearances. Tell us about our candidate this month.
Thank you. First, I would like to make sure that our candidates here for informal appearances are here with their principal broker. Is Charlotte Perella and Bridget Chamberlain available? Charlotte, are you with your principal broker today?
Charlotte, can you hear us?
Charlotte, are you able to hear us?
No. You can't hear us? You can't hear us? No.
Oh, well,
We're communicating. If I knew sign language, maybe we could help, but I don't know that.
one moment while we only have one informal appearance today, so if we could have 2 minutes
Sure.
to try to rectify this issue?
Oh.
Nice feedback.
Charlotte, are you now able to hear us?
She's muted. Does not.
Did you hear that, Charlotte?
Yeah. We are not.
I thank everyone for their time and patience this morning as we rectify this issue. We're not at our home base, so there are going to be technology challenges from time to time. Chair, as we work through this issue, if we could move on to our waiver request,
Sure.
I would greatly appreciate it. Does that need a motion, or am I?
No, move along.
Very good. So as far as our waiver request is concerned, we have one waiver request this morning for Megan Habel. She is seeking a waiver of $400 due to medical care. Her statement and her corresponding documentation can be found on your iPads.
All right, commissioners, if you've had your time to review this waiver request, are there any questions for Ms. Baker to the best that she can answer, or?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just wondering if there's any questions that the commissioners had about this waiver request.
Do you all have any questions in reference to this waiver request? Her statement can be found on page 2 of her documentation. And there's also a doctor's note on page 3.
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion approved by Commissioner Gahn, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. How are we doing?
Charlotte, are you able to hear us?
Still no good? Charlotte, still no good?
I am going to give her the call-in number. Just one moment, please. Charlotte has responded by she has called in, but cannot hear anything. We will continue to work on the back end to try to rectify this issue. In the meantime, we would like to move on to the Education Director's report, please.
Sure. All right, so next is the education report, and that goes to our Education Director, Mr. Ross White. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Pleased to be here once again in Jackson, Tennessee. I want to present this morning the education report and agenda to you. I have personally reviewed all the courses, providers, and instructors. On today's agenda, I present for your approval marked M1 through M44.
Do commissioners wish to pull any courses for further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the Education Director's report, courses M1 through M44 by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Now we have an instructor to approve.
I present to you an instructor this morning. It should be on your iPads there. One instructor for your approval.
Do commissioners have any questions about the qualifications of this instructor? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve, seconded by Commissioner Moffett. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Mr. Ross, thank you, sir.
In reference to our informal appearance, Miss Charlotte Perelia, her broker is unable to be with us today due to the storms in Tennessee last night. And
Okay.
since we cannot hear her, we may have to postpone. Are you able to hear me, Charlotte? I don't think she's able to hear me. We may have to postpone her appearance till June.
Okay.
She is typing. Let me make sure she understands that we may have to move her appearance to next month. Charlotte, are you able to hear us now? Charlotte, are you able to hear us with your secondary device?
Big sigh.
Chair, I recommend that we move candidate A to candidate A next month as well.
Okay. Do you need a motion to postpone until next June, or? No? Okay, until June, not next year, June.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Next item on the agenda then is the Executive Director's report. Ms. Baker.
Thank you. One
Yes, ma'am.
moment, please. Thank you for your patience. Before you on your iPad, you'll see the Executive Director's report. It outlines the licensees that are in the state. In addition to the licensees that are in the state, it also has the amount of tests taken in the month of April. Are there any questions in reference to that or the open and closed complaints report?
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Baker?
I do have a couple of updates for you all. The Tennessee Real Estate High School licensing program has been launched. It launched on April 30th of last week. So far, we've had 10 participants sign up for the program. In addition to those 10 participants, we have fielded dozens of questions from interested parties. We've also fielded many media requests. I would like to thank Chair Diaz for being available to fulfill those media requests, not only in East Tennessee, but we've had several media requests in Nashville as well as Chattanooga. So we are definitely reaching statewide with this program, and so I'm very excited about it. Are there any questions on the record in reference to this program? Next, we have the RELO conference in Chicago. If you would like to attend, the dates are September 23rd through 26th. We're able to bring 2 commissioners to that conference in Chicago in September. Commissioners College will also be offered, so if you have interest in attending that conference and/or attending Commissioners College, please let me know. And that concludes my report. Unless there are questions.
Just off the bat, any commissioners interested in going to Chicago in September? Won't be quite as cold yet.
Maybe.
Could be.
Could be, okay. So we have some interest. Perfect.
Thank you.
So, as the agenda was amended, the next item on the agenda would be the legislative update. And is that, again, Ms. Baker, or?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. We will move to the legislative update provided by Anna Matlock. One moment, we're still communicating with Ms. Perelia, and I think I'm mispronouncing her last name. I can't roll that R quite like I should be able to.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I would like to discuss one legislative update at this meeting, which is directly tied to our rules. And so there is a new amendment that has been passed to section 318 of our statutes. So hold on one second while I bring it up. It is directly related to the temporary retirement portion of our statutes.
Do you have a page number for us?
So it is going to be, if you look in your orange books, 318 is on page, it is on page 41. So this statute will go into effect on July 1st, 2024. And so it is adding a new subsection D. So the new subsection D it states, notwithstanding the requirements of section 319, so 319 directly behind it is the reinstatement after failure to pay a renewal or retirement fee. And it states that if a licensee is in good standing with the commission at the time their license is temporarily retired, and as a retiree they have not paid their renewal fee as required under the subdivision causing their license to lapse, they may reactivate their license on two conditions. The first one is the payment of all back renewal fees owed and any penalty imposed by the commission. And the second one is the submission of proof of completion of all classroom hours and real estate courses that would have been required under 303 if the licensee had instead maintained an active license during the period of temporary retirement. So essentially, as you know, as we're aware, if you're in retirement, you are required to renew your license. And so if you were for some reason not to renew your license during that time period, this gives the individuals an opportunity to move their license back into good standing after paying back any renewal fees. It gives you the authority to add a penalty related to it specifically, and then any CE that would have been required if the person was active. So with my interpretation of that, that would mean that individuals that were grandfathered, if your license is in retirement and you do not renew your license, you would not be required to take your CE if you did not renew it in temporary retirement, because the statute specifically states if your license had been active at the time. And so at the time, if they didn't have a license in temporary retirement, they would not be required to complete CE. Any questions?
So just so I'm clear. So if a licensee is grandfathered
Uh-huh.
and puts their license in retirement,
Yes.
then when and they wanna come back out 5 years from then they pay the renewal fee for those years.
Yes. And
And-
it gives you the authority to impose a penalty. So, we can do rulemaking to add a specific penalty, for this provision, of the rules, that related to individuals that want to remove their, license, from retirement into an active status.
And education is
Education, if they were
grandfather.
if they were grandfather, it would not be required.
Can we require it?
No. Unfortunately, no. That's what the statute says, and that's how it's written. So we wouldn't be able to impose any education. Only thing we would be able to do would be related to monetary, money.
But it's only licensees that have put their license in
Correct.
retirement.
Yes, only in retirement.
Well, and their license was not renewed.
Yes, and their license was not renewed. So if
During
you're
that
in
period of
retirement
time.
and you continue to renew your license and then you want to move your license into an active status, everything is fine. But if you are a regular agent and your license is not in retirement and you forget to renew your license, the same rules would apply.
Yeah, that's when the expired grace and all those
Correct.
things start to accumulate.
So, with that being said, we will need to amend that provision of the rule, related to, the specific section, is going to be, I'll tell you, if we go back, if you turn to page, 72, when I looked at this, there are two different provisions of the rules that I believe that we will need to amend. The first one is going to be 1260-01-.21, which is reinstatement of an expired license of a broker, affiliate broker, timeshare salesperson, or acquisition agent. And as we know, number 3 of that provision of the rule states that a license expired for more than 1 year, then that individual must reapply for licensure, meet current requirements, and pass all required examinations. So that provision of the rule, will need to be amended to include the exemption of the individuals that would fall under the temporary retirement, portion, because, statutes trump regulations. So we will need to amend that portion of the regulation. And then the next one, will be on page 101, 1260-05-.12, which is continuing education. So that portion of the rule, I believe, could use some clarification, in general. So we're gonna go ahead and add, the information related to this new statutory provision. So, I'm here today to ask a couple of questions of you. The first one is, related specifically to whether, you would like to, add a penalty, related to individuals that are, that would be removed from this particular, that are qualified in this section.
That are not grandfather.
Yeah, or anyone.
Okay.
So you have the discretion to do so. It's just that we would need to add like a specific provision in there to talk about what the penalty would be, if any. So I want you to remember that when we are imposing civil penalties, they're not really intended to necessarily be punitive. So let's not talk about like, $1,000 per year. Of course, we would not want something like that. But we want to make sure that the rule is able to be applied uniformly across the board, so we don't have any specific questions, related to it. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. And we'll just go ahead and we'll start there and have,
Discussion.
let me know your thoughts, discussion.
So this is,
Commissioner Gahn.
Yeah, well, they're just like,
so this is for anybody that's in retirement that hasn't paid their fee to keep their license in retirement over that period of time.
yes, this is for individuals that are retired and fail to renew during retirement.
So would like $400 per renewal period be too much?
So the discretion, for civil penalty, we would amend the section to add to that portion. Our civil penalties range from $0 to $1,000.
I also want the commission to also review Rule 126001.21. It is on page 72 of your book. If you notice on actually page 73, section B2, there is a current rule in place for those who are expired. However, there is a grace period where they can become current again. So for the first 120 days, it's $50 per 30-day period. Thereafter, starting on day 121, it's $100 per month. I think I said per day earlier. I meant per month. $50 per month. $50 per month per 30-day period. And starting at day 121, it's $100 a month. So theoretically, if someone was expired 363 days, they would pay $1,100 and will be in TREC's good graces using their original license date. If we were to impose no civil penalty, it would allow someone to, on day 366, just pay the renewal fee without having to pay the civil penalty for being late in the first year. Does that make sense? Did I explain that
there- so-
correctly?
No.
So
Again.
right now, they would be motivated to wait until that
Correct. They would be,
one more day
well-
after a year.
that's what logic leads me to
Yeah.
believe.
So again, we're talking about retired licenses that haven't been renewed. So under current statute and rule, those late fees would begin to accrue.
So currently, if this person were to wait till day 366, currently, they would just have to retest and reapply. That would be their only option. This rule allows on day 366 for them just to pay the back fee and be in TREC's good graces. And the civil penalty structure that I outlined for you is on page 73, section B, section 2.
So are you suggesting that this reinstatement formula be similar?
It
Or-
would provide for consistency.
But you're not suggesting a change on this formula on page 73?
I am not.
Okay.
So basically, we need to close a loophole here.
We need to create rules for the new statute that was passed.
So, again, just so I'm clear, retired licenses, not renewed, they would have been allowed to expire.
They must be retired, so they have to be retired
Okay. So-
properly.
So they haven't renewed. So the fee schedule for that right now would begin to accrue for the first 60 days, and then on day 61, the next level,
Day
Until-
121.
on day 121, and then the monthly
Yes, it's
After that.
$100 per month after day 121.
until a year.
Yes, until
And
I believe
then-
it's 365.
Okay, and then 366, they have to reapply and retest.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so what we're talking about is that date 366 and beyond. Do we want to penalize that? Part of that until they renew.
Yes, we would like to create rules for those folks who are day 366 and beyond to be compliant with the statute that's been passed and signed by the governor.
Well, I mean, just throw it out there since we're spitballing. I mean, I'd be okay with 30 days, $200, day 366 and beyond.
Okay. In addition to that, we also have to consider, let's say a retiree was retired for 10 years. So that's 5 renewal cycles. So they would also be paying that renewal fee
Which
5
would-
times.
Which would be,
500.
Ooh, I would need a little calculator. Let me
Around
phone a
500,
friend.
yeah.
Let me phone Siri really quickly. $375.
plus the assessed penalty.
If you guys were to impose this section outline, it could be $375 plus the $1,100 that someone currently has to pay if they wait beyond day 366.
And the new statute doesn't allow us to say they have to retest and reapply beyond that. There's no, okay. So basically, retest and reapply for retirees is going away.
It
Essentially.
disappears. It's as of July 1st,
As of July
2024.
1st.
Could they though? Could they do that and just not have to deal with all of these fees?
Could they do what?
Retest and reapply?
Yes, that would be an
So
option.
they would just say, okay, I'm so far behind,
Right.
forget that.
Yes,
We'll just start over.
correct. That would be an option
So-
for these licensees.
And they would get a new license number, a new date.
They
all
wouldn't
that.
get a new license number, but their license term will change. Yeah.
Any other ideas, commissioners? About day 366 and beyond?
Okay, let me be clear one more time. But if they're grandfathered, then they pay the fees with no additional education. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And that's nothing we can change.
It's a law as of July 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Just for the clarification, thank you.
Is this something we need to answer today? Or,
I would prefer to have like some kind of clarification of what you would like me to do today. I can bring back a red line next month based upon whatever our discussion
all right,
provides. Or I could bring back ideas for consideration and we can amend it. But basically, we needed guidance whether to see, first, if the penalty, imposing a penalty is something that you would like to do, related to the statute, and then, what your thoughts were, just in general, to let you know about the new statutory provision.
okay. And this was the first question you had, is you have more?
Yes.
Okay, so commissioners, think on that first question and we'll allow Ms. Matlock to pose her additional questions.
So if you'll go back to page 101, we're looking at provision 1260-05-.12. Specifically, I'd like to talk about sections 3A and 3B. So this is the continuing education provision of the rules, and these provisions address continuing education for the two, it's gonna be a similar conversation to the grandfather provisions of individuals. So we have first the affiliate broker grandfather provision, which went into effect on July 1, 1980, and then B, we have the broker provision, which went into effect January 1st, 2005. So if we read it, I'll just read you the first section since they're basically the same, except one uses the word affiliate and the other does not. An affiliate broker whose license was originally issued on or after July 1st, 1980 would be eligible for renewal of the license unless, during the immediately preceding 2-year license period, such affiliate broker satisfactorily completes at least 16 hours of continuing real estate education. This subparagraph shall not apply to an affiliate broker whose license was temporarily retired in accordance with TCA Section 62-13-318 for the entire immediately preceding 2-year period. Who understands what that says?
It says they gotta take 16 hours education, which the new statute says they don't.
No. Just like generally, it does not say, it doesn't actually say that. So as you saw, my hand is not raised either because it is confusing. That provision, the immediately preceding 2-year period language is confusing. I talked to no less than 7 attorneys to try and figure out what that last sentence, this subparagraph shall not apply to an affiliate broker whose license is in temporary retirement means. And I got 7 different interpretations. So, but the prevailing interpretation that I understood and I'm going with is that last sentence, the subparagraph, shall not apply to someone whose license was temporarily retired in accordance with 62-13-318 for the entire immediately preceding 2-year period, means that if your license was retired for 2 years, you're not required to provide continuing education to us until the 1 year after your license has been in active status. Now, I'm not entirely sure why that is there. Because we, at the time of when an individual, moves their license into active status, they will provide us the continuing education. I don't understand like the 1 year delay and for it. I thought maybe the rule was there because we didn't want individuals to move their license into retirement to avoid having to do CE and come back. And so if that's what the intention of the rule was, then makes sense. But I don't think that's how it reads. So I went back and I pulled the rule-making package from 2010 and 2006 and got no help. So my question to you all is, I'm going to try and use this handy-dandy thing right here to show you what I'm going to ask about it after we have a general discussion, is if you would be okay with, sorry, I'm using a pencil. This is what my proposal is going to be for that particular provision, unless you would like to change it. I was very small. Sorry. So as you can see here, if you look in yours, I have deleted the language that states, deleted the language related to during the immediately preceding 2-year licensure period in that last sentence. So it would essentially state that an affiliate broker who was not originally issued on or after July 1st, 1980 will not be eligible for renewal unless during such, unless needs to go. No, unless such affiliate broker satisfactorily completes at least 16 hours of continuing real estate education. So it takes out the 2-year period. So this provision A and this provision B applies to individuals that are not grandfathered. So it just basically says you've got to do CE, which we know the statute says you do CE. But I wanted to talk about this during the immediately preceding 2-year license period language in this last sentence to see, first of all, you are the commission, so you're able to interpret your rules and laws as you see fit, to ask you what your opinion is on the provision of the rule as it's provided right now, and then what you would like to do related to the rule. Because my plan related to this particular vision is to add a new subsection 5 after this to talk about the individuals that fall into the new statutory provision, to make it clear that they don't have to take CE if their license was issued before July 1st, 1980, or on or before January 1st, 2005. So it would just basically clarify that if your license is retired and you're in temporary retirement and you move out of it, you don't have to do the CE. So we're just making the statutory provision and rule. So that's my plan to do that. But as we're here, I wanted to talk about provisions A and B, because I believe A and B could use some clarity, for clarity purposes, related specifically to the 2-year immediately preceding period.
Okay. So you'll need a motion from us to go ahead and make that amendment to the rule?
No, if that's
Or
what, I mean,
redlining
I
next
just,
year.
those are the things that I wanted to talk to you related to the rule. So,
Okay.
this, how I see this going, after we do this, is that you give me your final thoughts related to .21, 1260.01.21, and then you give me your thoughts related to 1260.05.12, which is what we're talking about, 3A and 3B. And so I will come back next month with a drafted red line to present to you with whatever provisions we want for our conversation. And then we will vote on that and we'll move forward with the rulemaking process
In June.
in June. So in June, we'll get the vote to hopefully have rulemaking hearing in September.
I would,
Go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
I make a motion that you make the changes in, on page 101, that would be 1260-5-12 that you just went over,
Mhm.
and bring those back as a red line item in June.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank
So
you.
let me ask you a question about that civil penalty on day 366. Is it a civil penalty, or is it gonna be an ongoing fee schedule?
So, it's not gonna be issued via consent order. It would be the penalties that, like we get for individuals related to their waiver requests, that
Okay.
type of penalty.
Okay,
And that was on page 71,
73.
73.
72.
Yep. So what I could do is, this is just to start conversation back up again, mirror language that's very similar to the provisions here in 2B2, 1, and 2.
Mhm.
That would incorporate the time period afterwards. So I could do something like that. Or I can do something completely different if we want to just have like a flat penalty.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
If they go through the entire fee schedule, day 365, and we impose the penalties for day 366, can we make it so that the first year worth of penalties is not, we can't waive that? Can we decide not to do that? They're not eligible to be waived,
Like for a waiver request?
like a waiver request? Because
Yeah, it is the waiver rule.
I mean, I think if you put your license in retirement and you miss your renewal for more than a year, and then you wanna come back, 'cause, I mean, we can't take that, we shouldn't take that first year off the books on a waiver request.
So meaning pay the fee that would have been imposed on day 366, is that what you're saying? Or excuse me, day 365,
Right,
excuse me.
we wanna lock in those first year worth of fees.
Okay.
And say, okay, you're coming back, thank you, but,
That makes sense. I think that would provide for consistency.
we would lock that in, and then,
I'm pretty sure that can happen, but that can happen. I want to double check
sure,
on that. But the only thing I want to bring up is related to the fees, the rules related to fees. So as we know, there is one provision of the rule that states, if you go to page 60, it's gonna be a surprise, either gonna be 65 or 66. Which one is it gonna be? It's going to be
66,
66.
66.
you get a winner at 66?
66, 5, if we're looking at number 5. Never mind.
Okay, just kidding.
So I was thinking about the provision that says that, fees can be waived for good cause. But these fees would be coming from 318 and not 319A as provided here in the rules. So that wouldn't be a thing that could happen. So please ignore everything that I just said.
Okay, so you're saying we can't lock in that first year?
No, I think that you can
Okay.
lock in that first year. Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any other thoughts about imposing additional fees for day 366 and beyond? Got to help staff here somehow.
If I heard you correctly earlier, you said you would want the current fee schedule to apply after the first year. Did I hear, in addition to paying the renewal fee?
That was one suggestion.
Okay,
And then I thought about, since it is an increasing scale, given time, that, on day 366, we just continue that timeline, and continue to incrementally increase the penalty beyond day 366.
So if it's 5 years, what's the number?
as far as the renewal fee or the graduated scale?
The graduated scale.
That's for the commission
Yeah,
to decide.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it could become a big number, but you also have the opportunity to timely renew your license,
Or retest and reapply.
or retest and reapply.
If you retest and reapply, does your education start over?
Yes, it does. So those grandfathered in would now be in our current system.
So I think it would be prudent for us to not have this discussion, just for me to bring these things to you to think about when we're doing the imposition of penalties. So the penalty schedule is found on page 86 and 87. And as we know, when we're assessing civil penalties related to discipline, there are 5 different factors for you to consider when assessing a civil penalty. Whether the amount imposed will be a substantial economic deterrent to the violation, circumstances related to the violation, leading to the violation, severity of the violation, and risk of harm to the public, the economic benefits gained by the violator as a result of noncompliance, and interest of the public. So this is relating specifically back to civil penalties related to discipline, but I think that it's also important to consider these factors when we're imposing penalties for individuals, this group of individuals, because we want to make sure that we're making a measured decision that is not overly punitive to the persons that are removing their license from retirement, removing their retirement into an active status. So I just wanted to make sure that we had those in mind when we're thinking about imposing any sort of amounts to individuals. Like Commissioner Torbett stated before, if the penalties do become too prohibitive for an individual related to the amount that is imposed, they do have the opportunity to still retest and reapply and do that. But also, we're talking about beyond the 1 year period. It appears, based on the conversation, that some of that may be able to be waived, considering certain circumstances. But just also thinking about how much and how logical individuals would be able to pay things coming before us. I don't think this is going to be something that happens very often, but I do want us to be cognizant of civil or penalty amounts.
Well, I think we ought to let Anna come up with some suggestions for us to look at and discuss at our next meeting.
I agree.
Well, and I would make a further request, Anna, could you send us the citations and
So I can come up with, based on the conversations here, a couple of ideas for us to go from, and then I think it'll probably be easier if I were to put something in front of you and then you're like, no, I don't like that, Anna, which I would not like to hear, but it's okay, I'll take it. And I can make adjustments as it is. So I could make an adjustment starting with, penalties of $3.75 or something like that. No, obviously it won't be that amount because that's arbitrary and capricious. But there are other, I could do something very similar to that based on our conversations and bring back to you. And then we can go from there. So I could, like, it could be options like A, B, C.
And you
for
could do that in June.
Yes, and we can discuss and vote in June to move forward in the process. But mainly this was to, you know, give you the legislative update to let you know that we will have to do rulemaking. And I know typically in our rulemaking fashion, we don't have, I guess, as much discretion or things that give you more things to think about. Like this one, it's usually, I come in and I'm like, this is how we need to do it. But we have some ways to come up with our own way here.
Okay, and there's, you'll have the citations and whatnot that we're gonna be amending as part of that packet you're gonna send to
Yes.
us?
Yes.
Okay.
Will we get that along with the,
So I will send you, you know, the new public chapter. I'll send you the rules as is with like in the red line portion, so you'll have it. If you are, you know, wanting to see it now, like you're like after this meeting, I've really got to go see what this public chapter is. It is public chapter 734, which can be found on the Secretary of State's website.
I can also email it to you all. It's really important that we have some type of rules in place prior to July 1. I think we want to stress the importance of that because we need to tell the team at Trek how to proceed in these very specific instances that
I
this
don't know
does
if the
occur.
rulemaking clock will let us do that quickly.
The rulemaking clock won't allow us to do it at that point, so it will take, you know, about a year before the rules go into effect. So we won't have the rules in place yet at that moment. So if anything were to happen at that point, we would need, they won't be able to go into effect until they're actually going the effective date. So the date that we need to be cognizant of is, since we're adding new fees, essentially would be to make sure that they're in effect by July 1, 2025, because any rules imposing new fees have to be in place by July 1, 2025. If we were for some reason this got stalled and we couldn't do the fees and it went into effect on July 2nd, 2025, we wouldn't be able to collect fees until 2026. So that's what we're going to do, but the rules wouldn't be able to go in effect prior to the effective date of July 1, 2025, because 2024, because first the new statute public chapter did not give me the authority to promulgate rules prior to the statute going to an effect. The other option would be emergency rules, but emergency rules that have to impact the health, safety, or welfare of the public related to that, and I don't believe that this would meet that threshold. So we're kind of at an impasse here at the moment.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Well, I mean, it won't.
I have one.
Commissioner Smith?
So you're saying that if we meet in June and we vote on one of your suggestions, then that really would not become effective until July of 25. Is that what you're saying?
In 2025, whenever we get the effective date. So it's possible. So the way the rulemaking process goes is you give me the authority, I go back, and I get internal approval up through the commissioner.
Right.
And then it gets approval from the governor's office. And then after the governor's office, it has to sit at the Secretary of State's office for 52 days, which is why I don't foresee the rulemaking hearing happening until September. So after we have the rulemaking hearing in September, it goes back to, the rules go back to the governor's office for post-approval, and then we send it over to the Attorney General's office for constitutionality and legality to make sure that our rules are constitutional. After that happens, the Attorney General signs the rules, and then I file them again with the Secretary of State's office for publication. And then at that point, the rules will be effective 90 days post-filing. And then the last hurdle we would have to go over would be presenting the rules before the Joint Government Operations Committee in the General Assembly. So from start to finish, that process generally takes about a year, but it is possible we could get the rules in faster. So that's why we're trying to see what we can do related to that.
And if that happens sooner, and we just received the orange books,
So the
So
orange
tell us
books,
about-
unfortunately, the orange books will be out of date beginning July 1st, 2024. So that, because we have a new statutory provision, the statute's been changed.
okay,
And then they'll be out of, compliance because we're promulgating new rules because of the statute. So the orange books as is are good until July 1st, 2024.
That's awesome.
okay, but we do get an email telling us what the change is that we can,
Yes.
we can
Correct, so,
put in our book without buying a new book.
yes, so I will,
Get a supplement.
it'll go out to everyone because, post-legislative session, we send out, a summary of any legislative statutes
Right,
that impact the commission, and that'll go out via the My Emma or e-Notify, both of them probably, and then it'll have the links to the public chapter so people can add in, little paragraph, like
Right.
for 318D.
And it'll go out in our Trex seasonal newsletter, right?
Yes, we can make sure it goes out in our quarterly newsletter
Yeah.
as well.
We'll do,
We'll tag team it. We'll do
Perfect.
both to try to get the word out to every licensee
Yeah.
within the state that this will impact. Luckily, it won't impact every licensee, just a very small, minute licensee pool, I do believe.
okay, thank you.
Anything else legislative or rulemaking, Ms. Matlock?
not at this meeting, no.
Not at this meeting, no. Okay. Am I to assume Ms. Padilla is gonna be in June?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
very good.
Yes.
So that takes us to our next item, which would be legal and consent, but we have a public comment period. Is there
Yes, our
anybody
public comment period. Let me
that
see
wants to
if
speak
anyone-
for a few minutes?
We don't have anyone
Signed up?
signed up for public comment, but prior to going to recess, if that's what the committee, if that is what the commission would like to do, I do want to formally thank the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors for their hospitality. We had a great discussion yesterday, which many members of the association were able to hear from Trek team members and receive 1 hour of CE credit. They also hosted a reception for commission members last night and helped us facilitate this meeting today in the city of Jackson at City Hall. So I want to thank the city of Jackson as well as the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors for their hospitality, not only today, but yesterday as well. Thank you all so much.
Indeed, thank you. Okay, so the public comment period is closed, and before we go on, we'll go ahead and we'll recess for 10 minutes. And we will
So can we recess until 9:50? It's 13 minutes.
We will reconvene, we'll be in recess until 9:50.
Thank you.
That was very specific.
Another beat stick.